Hi everyone, Charles C here. Today our video is going to be about finding exposed Grafana applications that are visible externally using Shodan. So what is Grafana? Well, it's an open source tool used for running data analytics, and not just that, but it helps with analyzing and monitoring data as well. Users can use it to see their data by charts, graphs, and have a dashboard setup of that data that they want to visualize, right? And that's just a quick summary of what Grafana is. But now that we know what the video is going to be about and what Grafana is, let's go ahead and jump straight into the hands-on part. There's a couple of ways to get started. But if you're starting out and you don't know what to do, then you can always search Google as a starting point. Now, in my older videos, I always start by checking the default port. So if we do a search on Google about Grafana's default port, we get an answer of port 3000. So let's use that as our starting point. And you can see on the left hand side, we get a lot of results. Pretty much 1,000,000 plus results on just port 3000. Now, not all of them are going to be Grafana assets. Port 3000 could be hosting something else. So what we can do now is we'll scroll down a little bit until we see something called top products. And once we scroll down under top products, we do see Grafana open source with 46,000. So going from 1,000,000 plus results, we'll be dropped down to 46,000 plus results once we go ahead and click on that. So let's go ahead and let's click on that, and we'll see the top results going down, and that would mean that we have narrowed it down to just Grafana assets. So let's not focus on just port 3000 Grafana instances, right? Because some could be listed under different ports, and we won't be able to see every Grafana that's possibly out there. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and I'll delete the port query or the port key value and just leave it under product search only. Now this is much better because the numbers did go up much more than what we had, 46,000 plus I think it was, but now we're just focusing on Grafana, and this is going to be based on just any other port. So if you look at the top, not top, but at least the left side where it says top port, you can see that there's 3000, which is the default one. There's some hosting on 443, 80, 8443, 8080 plus more. And if we click on more, we'll get into the facet analysis to see what other ports Grafana is being hosted on. But we'll go into the search right now, and so let's go ahead. Now there might even be 441 response codes, right? What do I mean by that? If you take a look at the right side, you see there's 200 OKs. We do see we're gonna see majority of 200 OKs, the response code, HTTP response code to say. Now what we can do is we don't want to see anything that's not successful when it comes to loading the page. 200 means that it was a successful load, so we just want to see it based off of that. What we can do is actually use the Shodan filter of http.status and give it that 200 response code to show us only results based off successful loads from the page. So let's go ahead and let's do that. And we're still at 80,000 plus, but there's been a little lower than before. Not a lot, right? Just a couple, because I'm pretty sure because of what we did, it's majority of them do have a successful loading when it comes to the page load, and not a lot with 404 errors or 500, whatever the case may be. And that's why we're not seeing a lot of down results, right? Or the numbers going even more lower than what we saw earlier. And that's a good thing either way. Sometimes you'll see just a couple going down, sometimes a lot, but for this, the number just went down by a little bit, not too much. So at least now we're going to know that every one of those search results are going to be 200 response codes. Now, what can we do next, right? Well, if we're doing, let's say, vulnerability hunting, there's a new CVE that came out with a Grafana vulnerability, and they have certain versions or a version that is vulnerable, we can narrow it down to version number only. So we're going to go ahead and scroll down, and we're going to pick one of the versions, and if we do that, the number should be a lot lower. So let's go ahead and let's go do that. So for this search, I'm using version 8.3.3. So this result is only going to show based off of the version that we gave it, right? Let's say, the vulnerability, we saw the affected products and version 8.3.3 is vulnerable. Well, if we search on Shodan, it'll give us exactly that search. But another search we can do is, let's say 8.3.3 is not vulnerable, right? Everything else is vulnerable, but not 8.3.3, and you don't want it in your search, especially when you're downloading the results. Well, what we can do is use the minus sign before version. I say minus, but you can call it a dash as well. So we'll go ahead and do that. And once we do that, it will show results on other versions and not 8.3.3. That will be taken out, and you can see the total number of results came up even higher from previously, because before we only had it structured to 8.3.3 version, and now we don't want to see 8.3.3, but we want to see every other version besides that. And that is one of the reasons, why you might want to look into the version side of it. And this is something you can do. This is just a quick search on Shodan, at least to help you out different ways. We've done MongoDB, we've done Elasticsearch as well. And now you can see, Grafana wise, and it's a little bit different than the searches we did before. Some form of it is similar to it. But yeah, so that you can have an understanding on how you can break down your searches by versions and stuff. We've done ports, I think, before. We've done it with organization. So now we're doing that for versions. But let's go ahead and let's give you an example. Like if you're doing bug bounty, right? I gave you an example of how to find exposed Grafana applications. But what can you do afterwards if you're doing bug bounty? Well, you might want to do a search based on the organization. We just said organization just earlier, but you might want to narrow it down on the organization you're doing bug bounty on. So if we scroll down, let's say you have Amazon that you're doing bug bounty on, or DigitalOcean, whatever the case may be, and that's the organization you're going after for bug bounty programs. Well, then you can click on it and it'll come up for you. So we'll go ahead and do that. And in the top search bar right here, you can see that the org is already there. It says org, that's how you do the organization search, and then DigitalOcean LLC. You can break it down by top countries and it'll narrow down your searches even more. But that's something that you can do when it comes to bug bounty and stuff. You can use the org filter and narrow it down. But necessarily doesn't mean that that's the organization that Grafana is being hosted on. Well, with organization, you have to understand that if you're doing it off of, like, let's say Amazon or Microsoft, they're going to have cloud services, and you should not take it as granted that you found something for Amazon or Google. That might not be the case, because at the end, what's happening is that it could be a customer asset and you might not get a reward for it. So not just Amazon or Microsoft, but any other companies that is hosting cloud, you have to be very careful with that part. But what I can say is that once you break it down by organization and stuff, and you have all your queries up top that we just shown right here, or something of your own, then the next thing you can do is to validate it by clicking on the red icon that you see next to the word Grafana, and you can check to see if it prompts you for credentials or if there aren't any credentials at all. And if it prompts you for credentials, then the next thing you can do is try to check to see if it takes default credentials. Unfortunately, I'm not going to show that here, but I'm hoping you get that idea, right? Because I don't want to show which asset is actually vulnerable or not. That's kind of up to you on that part. This is just for educational purposes. Now, once you find that and you seem to be able to access one of the Grafana instances, you can report that as a vulnerability and contact the organization so that they can fix it ASAP, and you get your bug bounty reward, right? Something that you can do. Now, there's other ways to break down the searches. It all depends on how you want to do it. You have the icon next to the Grafana, the favicon icon or the fab icon, whatever the case may be. You can use that. This works a little bit better because it's not just structured towards the icon. Why I say that? Because sometimes the Grafana icon could be different, and you might miss out on those Grafanas that has a different icon based. Just, these are like the default one that you're seeing right now. But what could happen is that I've seen cases where Grafana might have a different icon. So this might be the best way to do it. You can either do it by product, or you can do like a HTTP title or title Grafana, either or. The it's going to be whatever the title is that's going to have that Grafana text search based kind of a deal, but you can see it, and it'll save you from not just doing it on the port-wise. You don't want to just base your search off of port. Try to stay very limited to port if you can, to get more accurate results, and not just accurate ones, but more wide open of a results that's based on your search. But that's all I had to say for this video, everyone. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, then please let me know in the comment section below. Thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you on the next one.